Let's do some Ming Dynasty swordsmanship. This is the Scholar General, Ming. This video will be the first part of a series where I'll be taking a look at a Ming Dynasty saber and shield manual called the Jixiao八势, or the 8 saber postures of the Jixiao Xinshu. In this first video of the series, I'll be talking about the background of where this text comes from, as well as an introduction that it gives to the use of the rattan shield. This saber and shield manual is actually a chapter within a text called the Jixiao Xinshu, written by a Ming Dynasty general, Qi Jiguang. During the 16th century, the Ming Dynasty was having a lot of trouble with piracy on their southeastern coast. So they sent General Qi Jiguang down there to kind of straighten things out. And what he did is when he got there, the Ming Dynasty military that was in the area was basically totally ineffective. And he actually took peasants and he trained them to become soldiers. And this was a lot of work. But he did it and he achieved great success. And after his success, he then, decided to write down the lessons that he learned in the text called the Jixiao Xinshu. In this text, he covered a lot of the strategies and tactics and the training that he used for his troops. And that's where we get this saber and shield work from. One of the most important things that you need to do if you're going to look at techniques from historical manuals is try to get the earliest version of the manual that you can, because the more publications of it that there are, the small little changes will occur throughout. And this is very easily proven in a lot of different texts. And so what I have done is I've did a lot of research, and I found the earliest version of the Jixiao Xinshu that I possibly could. Now, this one dates to 1621. It's a part of a giant military encyclopedia called the Wu Bei Zhi, which was written by Mao Yuanyi. Towards the end of the Ming Dynasty, they really had some military problems, and Mao Yuanyi was like, well, we just need to assemble all the possible knowledge about military affairs that we can so that we can stand a chance of making some changes. It didn't actually work out at all, really, because the dynasty collapsed just a number of years afterwards. But it's invaluable as a resource because he covers just everything. And he took whole texts entirely and just stuck them in this encyclopedia. Another good thing is that at least one original printed copy of the Wu Bei Zhi has been photographed and put into some PDFs. And I'll leave a link down below to where you can get those. But that is the main resources that I'll be using here, is the 1621 woodblock printed version of the Wu Bei Zhi, which contains the rattan shield section of the Jixiao Xinshu within it. But I do need to say that that is not the only text I'll be using. I'll also be looking at some other later versions and publications of the Jixiao Xinshu, as well as the Wu Bei Yao Lue. One important modern source that I recommend everybody check out is an English translation published by Jack Chen at ChineseLongsword.com. And you can pick up that for like $12. So if you're really into this and you really want to start practicing and you don't know Chinese, then I highly recommend going there and getting your copy. Now let's look at what the text itself says about the rattan shield. The first thing that it says is that there's 2 kinds of shields. There's a round shield and there's the rectangular shield. And the rectangular shield is actually not a rattan shield. It doesn't state it, but in my interpretation, it just will be used in the same way as the rattan shield. But it does highlight a couple advantages that the rattan shield has over other types of shields. Number 1, it's lighter weight than the wooden leather-covered shields. And also, it is weather resistant, particularly in the south where rattan grows. Lugging around leather wooden shield can rot and stuff like that. And it says that the rattan shield is much better at resisting the moisture. The text also says that the rattan shield needs to be, very big and able to cover your whole body. Mine is actually a little bit on the small side. So that's something to keep in mind going forward, is that, you might see that my legs might be a little exposed, or, my head might be a little opened up whenever I'm doing some of these techniques later in the other videos. But, I still think it can definitely be done with a smaller shield like this one. But one that's a little bit bigger would be even better for providing that coverage. The text also praises the defensive capabilities of the rattan shield. It says that even though it doesn't block bullets, it'll block spears, arrows, and stones that are thrown at you, and pretty much everything else. Now, a lot of people will see this and they'll be like, well, that just looks like a flimsy basket. What's that going to do, really? But it's much stronger than people might realize, for one. And for two, the ones that are made in the Ming Dynasty would be even stronger than the ones I have here for a few reasons that I'm not going to talk about here, and I'll save that for a later video. But regardless, the shield is definitely a functional shield. If it wasn't strong enough to hold up, they wouldn't have used it. So it's a good shield. But what does the text actually say about the use of the rattan shield? The first thing to point out is that this is part of a loose formation called the Yuanyang, or the Mandarin Duck Formation, that Qi Jiguang developed whenever he's fighting against those pirates. Primary role of this shield is to keep people from getting to your spearmen, your buddies with spears. You're supposed to keep them from getting in, and it's mostly a defensive role in the formation. However, it does talk about how you can attack and go get their spear people. But an important thing to keep in mind that the text reminds you of a couple different times is that don't just try to rush in if you just have the shield and the sword, because it actually gives an advantage in that situation to the spear, because it says you don't have the reach and you can't, it's very risky and dangerous to just try to go in on a spear without preparing for it first. The first thing that it talks about is you use a javelin. Now, this might surprise a lot of people, and people don't always talk about it very much, but the javelin is actually very important in this formation of the Yuanyang and during this time period, because my shield and sword alone cannot match the reach of the spear. But if you're proficient with the javelin, which is emphasized in the text, it says, you throw the javelin and they either get hit or they have to do something. And because they have to react to it, that gives you what you need to capitalize on and get in and attack the spearmen. It says don't hang out here, don't throw your javelin and wait. You throw your javelin and you go in, because you're creating some initiative. The other situation where the shield and saber person can go in and attack the enemy spearman, is if you're under the cover of the wolf brush. Now, the wolf brush is one of those weird weapons that people don't always know about, don't always understand when they see it. But it's basically a piece of bamboo with all the branches still on it. And it looks very cumbersome, and it is cumbersome. But you just have a big piece of bamboo, and the whole purpose of it is to get in the way of enemy spears. And all you do is you just put that thing out there, spears get stuck in it, and then, the shield, the targeteer, goes in and starts chopping up those spearmen. Or, you catch some spears and then your spear people go and get them. The main thing is that the shield person is not just supposed to go in and fight against spear people. You're supposed to work with your formation and use your javelins and rely on this broader context. And this text in general and these techniques are not going to be about how to fight a duel with a shield and a sword. It's going to be about how you work with that formation and how you approach spears whenever you need to do so. So that's it for this video. I'm really looking forward to going out and showing my interpretations of these techniques, and I'm sure that people will have different thoughts than me, and that's totally okay. I would love to have a discussion about what your thoughts are on how the shield and saber should be used. But thank you all for watching, and please subscribe. Don't forget to stay sharp.